What up, boys and girls? It's your guy Matt RDK, joined by, I guess you can call him second most frequent host, Rivera over here. We are here to talk about a very interesting patch of time in wrestling, not even just WWE, just wrestling in general, because so much has been going on. But at the same time, so little is going on, which is what this episode is for. Sorry for the pause in content. Our last episode was episode 13, which was the Bash in Berlin pre-podcast. It's been a minute. Even just setting up with Rivera, I was rusty as hell. I was like, oh, I'm going to record my audio too. I forgot how this shit goes.
Slacker.
Whatever. At least I make content.
All right.
But with that being said, Bash in Berlin is come and gone. Great pay-per-view. Nice 5-match Triple H special card. And now we are working towards Bad Blood for WWE. But that's not till October 5th, guys. We're like 4 weeks out. And Rivera and I were just looking at the pay-per-view schedule, and we can probably start with this conversation. We're kind of entering, I don't know if you'd want to call it a slow patch for WWE, but shit's very spread out. I feel like we've had a lot of months recently where it's like you have 2 PLEs, like, you know, like almost back to back. Like, it felt like that. It was like we were pumping out podcasts. There was so much to talk about. And now it's like you got 4 weeks until Bad Blood. Then you got 4 weeks until Crown Jewel. Then it's going to be another 4 weeks until Survivor Series. And you pointed this out. After Survivor Series, there's not much till the Rumble. Like, it's like Holiday Tour, which is live events. There's one NXT event. Ooh, I'm kidding. And then, yeah, you get to the Royal Rumble. So I've been blabbering, but how do you feel right now with just kind of the state of WWE, what's going on, this very spread out pay-per-view schedule upcoming, and, yeah, any other thoughts?
I mean, I feel like, so we've been, like you mentioned, we are getting pay-per-views after pay-per-views after pay-per-views. It was like within 3 to 4 weeks of each other, constantly throughout the summer. But I feel like even with all the pay-per-views, I feel like a lot of storylines have been just like super slow. Like the big thing right now is like the Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan storyline. I think we came to an agreement, kind of like, hey, this is probably gonna end at like Bad Blood, probably, and like in like a cage match or whatever. But I don't think that's where it's going. I think that it looks like they're just having a regular match, and it almost looks like they're just gonna continue milking this cow because it's making them money. And you know, Judgment Day makes them money. Liv and Rhea makes them money. So and this Terror Twins makes them money, especially with the inclusion of Jey Uso. So it's just like, I feel like stories are happening slow, but we're getting so much pay-per-view. So it makes the pay-per-view sometimes feel like filler. But they're like, that doesn't mean that the pay-per-views are bad or anything. Like Bash in Berlin was a fantastic showcase of professional wrestling. It's just like nothing really happened at Bash in Berlin. And then it's like, so like talking about like slow storylines, you also talk about just the lack of storylines. Like, where's the tag titles? I saw Finn Balor come out with a tag title. I go, I forgot you were even the tag champion, bro. And you're getting your ass kicked every week, bro, by Damian Priest. Like, I don't know. I just feel like the stories going into this like drought compared to like last year. I mean, I feel like we went to this drought kind of weird as well. And then like the final boss came out of nowhere, and that's kind of what got us through the little December, January drought.
Yeah, that's a great point.
I'm hoping with the Netflix deal, and like, you know, the Netflix deal and the change of branding for WWE and the John Cena retirement tour, that come January, end of December, that it'll pick back up. But I do think that between Survivor Series and December, it's just going to be that lull moment unless something drastic happens by Survivor Series.
Yeah, I agree. I think you just like literally mapped out the podcast. No, you just mapped out the podcast for us right there. There were so many topics to break apart. I think the first one that was a really good point is just like the storylines in WWE right now. I feel like when you were and I were on the last podcast, whichever one that was, it might have been I don't know, SummerSlam. We were probably talking about SummerSlam or somewhere around that time, a couple months ago. we were very excited about a lot of the storylines on WWE, and these storylines have been powering WWE through pretty much since after WrestleMania. It was Rhea, Liv, and Judgment Day, CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. Recently, it was like the Uncle Howdy, that shit was brewing, and then, you know, kind of whatever the Bloodline and Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns had going on. Those were like kind of your three big ones, plus like, you know, the Uncle Howdy shit coming into play as well. I do feel like where we are now, it's time to move on from quite a few of those. I do think people... I've been seeing a lot of mixed reviews online for the Uncle Howdy shit. Like, initially, people were like, this is the coolest shit ever. And then we were at literally the second Raw, I think, when, like, the Wyatt Six had, like, debuted the week prior. And we were on that second one, and we're like, yo, like, they were doing the cool-ass shit with Chad Gable. Like, they started off hot, and then it already felt like it was kind of dragging a little bit. People are already like, Chad Gable, fight someone else, bro, please, please. So, like, that's one where it's, you know, they also have yet to get a real pay-per-view match. However, you know, in general, it might be too little too late. Like, that has been dragging. I think one that is really, really, really dragging is Punk and McIntyre. I do think that, you know, their hatred is really good, and I feel like I know you don't watch AEW, but it's a very big comparison to what is happening with Swerve and Hangman right now. Like, just feuds that are based off of hatred. But I do feel like Punk and Drew, it ran its course. It was incredible, a great feud. After Bad Blood, I think they're in a Hell in a Cell or Steel Cage is one of the two. Like, that's it. You know, like, let it end there. Punk already got a win. Drew already got a win. 3 out of 3. Let's finish it after Bad Blood. That's my opinion. I do think Liv and Rhea is going to continue past it because they know that shit going to make money. They know that shit going to give them social views. I don't blame them. I don't blame them. But, again, that eventually will kind of run its course. Now that you're kind of introducing all these new characters, the new Judgment Day, Jey Uso getting involved, it is, you know, in a way still feeling fresh. Now that you have Rhea and Damian being faces, which is something new for them, pretty much in general. Rhea, for the most part, has been heel, at least for the entirety of the Judgment Day. And I don't know if Damian Priest ever was a face in WWE before now. This dude was always just a bad guy. And then what was that? The Bloodline. So the Bloodline will be a very good conversation for later in the podcast because they've been doing some cool shit. They just appeared on NXT. We have some Solo Sikoa slander talk to come. But yeah, the Bloodline has also kind of been bouncing around many storylines. You know, you got Cody Rhodes doing his thing. The mention of the final boss really gets me going that maybe, you know, with Netflix and Rock is going to want to be at WrestleMania next year, maybe he pulls up and once again carries us through the slow patch of WWE. But, yeah, I'm sorry. You just had so many good points there, and I was like, we got to start with the storylines. For you personally, is there also maybe a storyline where like, all right, this shit is dragging? Because for me, like I said, Punk and McIntyre, but I don't know how you feel if there's one that really stands out for you.
Honestly, before Odyssey Jones got fired, it was definitely the Xavier Woods and Karrion Kross
my God.
plotline. I think another really big one that's kind of like a sleeper storyline is the Austin Theory babyface turn. Dude, just turn him babyface. He'll make money, man. Just make him babyface. Like, they just keep egging it on. Now Cody's getting involved in that for whatever reason. Like, dude, bro, deal with the bloodline. Like, they keep bringing it up and bringing it up. Like, just turn that guy face. Let him and Waller duke it out. Yep. And then, like, you made a lot of good points too with the Wyatt Six and American made
USA.
That was pretty dragged out. I mean, it should have ended with the Uncle Howdy and the Gable fight. Like, what were they trying to accomplish? Like, the street fight was good, but what were they trying to accomplish for getting a street fight after their 1v1? Like, it just didn't make sense to me. But I actually kind of want to go back to Drew and McIntyre. You think that it's being dragged out? I don't think so. I think it would have been dragged out if they kept the bracelet in and they like made it all about the bracelet. Now it seems like that the bracelet's done. They're not holding on to materialistic things. Now it's just full hatred. And I do agree that Hell in the Cell has to be the final one. And honestly, I can see either one of them winning. I'm okay with either one of them winning if I were to choose CM Punk. But they both, this past Raw, they both have shown their like desires after their feud. Like Punk wants to go for the title, and then if the WWE plays it right and Wade Barrett wants to, it almost seems like they're going the direction of Drew McIntyre versus Wade Barrett, which would be phenomenal.
Man, I would love to see Wade Barrett just, get out of that suit, bro. Strap up the boots, lace them up, man. Bring back the bull hammer. Like, that would be sick. I was always
Barrett.
I'm afraid I've got some bad news. I've always been a fan because I was a big Nexus fan when they first debuted, and obviously Wade was the leader of that. And, Wade just had a very unfortunate career. It's not like it was bad. Like, he won plenty of mid-card titles. I want to say he's a 1 or 2 time tag champion. He was in all different factions, Nexus Core, the League of Nations, you name it. This dude was in all of it. And yeah, I do think, I forget why he had retired. It might have been like just injuries, or he just wanted to swap over to the commentary. But yeah, I mean, plenty of people step away from the ring and then come back. Samoa Joe is a great example. For years, he was just doing commentary. Then he went on to, feud with Brock Lesnar, become the AEW World Champion. Like, it can be done. So I'd love to see Wade make that transition. And yeah, I do think definitely the seeds have been planted for a Punk world title. I don't know if it's going to be a world title run or at least a world title feud. That's definitely in the cards. But yeah, I mean, I did say Punk and Drew's being dragged out, but then I feel like you kind of said what I wanted to say even better. I do think it has to be settled at Bad Blood, but past that, if it kept going on, I'd be like, hell no, bro, let them split. Let them split. Like, a feud can be really good, but it doesn't need to go on for like 8 years. Like, Rock in Austin, or you can even point at like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Those are feuds that you just know are gonna last a lifetime, because it's just like, what's the word? It's like more like mortal enemies. Like, they're just always gonna be there, but they do take a year or two apart to just like have their own storylines, and then they'll come back and like you're like, oh shit, like they haven't fought in 2 years. Like, here we go again. But, when you have Drew and Punk just going at it pay-per-view after pay-per-view after pay-per-view, that's where it can get a little tiring in my eyes. But yeah, I mean, those feuds have been great. The bracelet's a good little quick story, too, because did you see that the WWE shop, like, was going to sell it? And then the original, like, the girl that had originally created it for Punk was like, man, it would have been nice if you, like, asked. Like,
that's like, why would they, in their right mind, like, think to sell? Who would buy that anyway? It has another dude's wife and dog on the bracelet. Like, that's just weird, bro.
Mega CM Punk fan, I guess. They're out there. They're out there. You never know what people will buy.
I mean, we love our AJ Lee, but like, come on, bro.
That's true. That shit's always been looming. And okay, one other thing before we move on to talking about other things with Drew and Punk. I've seen rumors. We know it's not going to happen, but a boy can dream. Some wrestling fans can dream. Many people have said, as this seems to be the culmination of CM Punk and Drew McIntyre, the match, what if they came out to This Fire Burns and Broken Dreams? I don't think it's going to happen. WWE hates us. They're going to come out to the do fucking bagpipe shit. But I just wanted to put it out there. That would be crazy. CM Punk did that shit in AEW. He had one like big final match with MJF, and he came out to his Ring of Honor song. So people were like, it'd be really cool if, like, for a callback, Punk's going into this final match with Drew McIntyre, and he brings out like his OG WWE theme song. Yeah, that would be sick. I also have very dead hope for Broken Dreams. I feel like if you don't use it at Clash at the Castle, when the hell is going to be an appropriate time to use it? So, more than likely, as I'm sure you're already about to say, not going to happen. But just wanted to throw it out there.
I mean, like, I feel like their chance to play Broken Dreams was at WrestleMania. Why did they not do it at WrestleMania? Like, Fire Burns, like, Punk can, just like how Seth randomly throws it back to the Shield theme song. Like, Punk can just have that in his arsenal all the time. Like, they should have just... But for Drew, they should have just done Broken Dreams at WrestleMania, because I feel like that's just where like his just like real like heel behavior really started. That's when he lost. That's when he had the 5-minute title reign, and he went psychotic. And I just think that would have been the perfect time to do it. I doubt that they're gonna do it though. I wish. I wish.
I just had to throw it out there. Sometimes Triple H likes to throw us a bone and give us a treat, but then other times Triple H and WWE like to dangle something in your face and then smack it away, just like Sheamus when they finally give you written it in my face back. And after like what 2 or 3 weeks later, it's like some generic ass Def Rebel trash.
Garbage,
bro. But before we go to talk about WWE's future and whatnot, such as a logo change, a theme song change, Megan Thee Stallion, you know what I'm saying? And whatever else we want to talk about with the future, Final Boss, leading up to Survivor Series, leading up to the new year, leading up to Netflix. One conversation I really wanted to have, and we did briefly allude to it. We gotta talk about this new bloodline, bro. They're going crazy right now. They're doing some shit without Solo Sikoa. People have a lot to say about it. Before I give my piece, what do you think of them showing up on NXT? What do you think of this trio without Solo? What do you think about like the dynamic right now with Solo, Jacob? And as every single podcast where I was alluding to, this is all building up to War Games. This is all building up to Survivor Series. How do you feel the progress is for that inevitable, presumed Bloodline Civil War Games match?
I honestly, like, I don't even know. I feel like not a lot has developed for like Jimmy's still not back, and like there's no like Rock or anything. So I just I'm not too sure how like the War Games is going to be split up and how they're going to do that. But man, them showing up on NXT was amazing. They just looked like badasses. They look like badass with just the 3 of them. I don't know how Tonga Loa did it, but he looked good. He made himself look so good by being so mid. I don't understand. I mean, I like Tama Tonga as well, but I think Tonga Loa has been the better character. Maybe not so much better in the ring, but better as a character. I wouldn't be surprised if this starts becoming like an internal feud. Maybe not at Survivor Series. Maybe we're looking more in the future, like WrestleMania, where I know like a lot of people were speculating that Jacob Fatu was the mole in the Timu bloodline. But I think it's more like, I think Jacob genuinely loves Solo. He loves Solo. And but I don't think Solo really likes how much attention Jacob's getting, and maybe that might get involved. Maybe that will start blossoming at Survivor Series when they're together fighting Roman's team. He starts seeing Jacob get all the spotlight. He's like, "Whoa, wait, you're just the enforcer, bro. What are you doing?" So hopefully they start planting seeds there, because man, Jacob can't keep staying with these bozos, man. I think he needs to be either his own entity or be on Roman's side, because he's just too damn good.
100%. It was crazy. Like, I thought that exact same way. Like, I was like, when I saw the clip, because I don't watch NXT, as I'm sure you had said, like, you don't watch like the full show, but you'll get the clips given to you on social media from WWE, and like, man, they look damn good. Like, Tama Tonga ran out shirtless and the crowd like popped. They're like, oh shit. And then, Tonga Loa comes out, and this man actually found a way to have aura. Like, I was like, all right, I'm all in. And then Jacob Fatu, man, this dude's doing the Jeff Hardy Swanton bombs and shit. Like, they look damn good. And again, like, I'll always try to defend him because I'm a fan. I feel so bad for Solo, but it's just something about the dynamic where, like, he is just, everything WWE feared, where they're like, oh, Jacob's going to take away from Solo. It happened. It absolutely happened. Like, Solo is so overshadowed. Like, I feel like nobody's taking this man serious. And I just rewatched, like, a clip of WrestleMania 39, like, where Solo's still Roman's enforcer. And I was like, Man, it does feel like a completely different Solo. I remember back at that time, people were like, let Solo have some personality, let him talk, like you're holding Solo back. And now Solo's doing all that, and it's been falling flat for people. People are like, nah, what's this bum-ass Timu, like, tribal chief, like, nah. And then I thought it was really interesting when Cody Rhodes has said, Jacob Fatu, like, stand up. And I was like, oh, shit, they are planting the seeds for, clearly, you know, they're feeding into the fact that everyone knows Jacob is the alpha, the lone wolf, the standout of this new bloodline who's going to go on to presumably become a world champion one day, definitely dominate the mid-card titles. I see him going on kind of like an Umaga-like run, except he does even more than Umaga did back in the day, now that he's a high flyer and whatnot. I would predict maybe early prediction, maybe it's like a Jacob versus Solo WrestleMania type deal. Just because I feel like you're so focused on what's Cody gonna do, what's Roman gonna do, you kind of forget that these guys still need to get on the card. I would see that probably being the match at WrestleMania 41. Whoa, we're talking way in the future. Solo Jacob. But yeah, it's just really cool that, you know, they're letting Bloodline dominate again, just like the OG Bloodline had done. Because obviously, Roman was Universal Undisputed Champion. He was on Raw and SmackDown. The Usos at the time were the Undisputed Tag Champs. They were on Raw and SmackDown. So it's like, I feel like that's what really allowed the Bloodline to thrive, was just the endless TV time. And now that you're going to have, you know, parts of the Bloodline 2.0 go on to NXT, get more exposure, get more clips, more social media reactions, like, is good, I think, because you always want to have the Bloodline making you money, be in the spotlight. People are never going to be against the Bloodline, you know, being front and center, and we've just accepted it at this point. And yeah, I think the most interesting thing will be, if the Bloodline Civil War is still the direction they're going to go, how is it going to happen? Like, they kind of teased Sammy teaming with Jay way back, and now that's kind of dispersed. Sammy's now going for Gunther. Jay's involved with Braun Breaker, with Rhea Ripley. It will be interesting to see how all the pieces do get pulled together. We are still missing Jimmy Uso. Roman Reigns came back and he dipped just as fast as he came back. Like, it's gonna be interesting. I do think, you know, Solo, Jacob, this Bloodline 2.0 just have to kind of ravage more and more and more, and we'll see. Like, I sometimes forget that we're literally coming up on October very soon. October will come, Bad Blood will come, move on to the next one. The Rock's gotta be coming eventually, whether it's in January when we go to Netflix, or maybe at War Games after the match. Maybe he's in the War Games match, who knows. But yeah, Bloodline is definitely going to be an interesting development. See where it goes, and we'll see if, you know, a lot of the typical internet wrestling community predictions for Bloodline Civil War, Roman versus Rock, is it going to be Rock versus Cody, like how that all plays out. But now that we got the Bloodline done, I did want to talk about this new direction of WWE. I'll let you take the floor because my throat is dry after that rant. I want to talk about the new SmackDown logo. You mentioned to me that there's a new SmackDown theme song, Megan Thee Stallion apparently. We know Raw's going to Netflix in January. Raw, I don't know if this is true. I'm pretty sure I'd seen that Raw is going to 2 hours until they switch to Netflix. I think that was the rumor. So yeah, there's a lot of like technical things changing for WWE. How do you kind of see and react to it? Mainly the SmackDown logo. I feel like that's the big talk of the town right now, but everything else that I just mentioned.
I think the SmackDown logo is pretty cool. It's like a modern. I feel like it's a modernized version of like the Ruthless Aggression one, where it's like on top of each other, like stacked or whatever. It's kind of like, I mean, that's kind of what it is now, but it's like, it's cool. It's fine. I think it's okay. The Raw going to 2 hours kind of baffles me a little bit, because the Raw roster is so big. With it being cut to 2 hours until Netflix, and then we don't really know what's going to happen with Netflix. it seems like that means that a lot of storylines are going to get cut out, and unfortunately that might even mean that like our like Wide Six is going to get cut out, American Made is going to get cut out, a lot of the women's division matches are going to be cut out, LWO, we're going to just see a lot less, kind of go to where like what SmackDown's dealing with right now is the reason why Austin Theory's babyface turn is taking too long, or like Carmelo Hayes and Andrade like haven't gotten their payoff yet, because it's like they just don't have time on television. Like, and I think that we're gonna run into that same problem with Raw up until Netflix, and then hopefully come Netflix, I think I read somewhere that Netflix is still going to have commercials. It is not going to be commercial free. However, they're going to be able to it's not like a very like specific time frame. Like it's not like 3 minutes of commercial, 5 minutes of screen time, 3 minutes of commercial, 10 minutes of screen time. It's not like strict like that. Like they could just do like throw 3 ads at you and then go back to the show or whatever. So maybe come Netflix, if they still decide to do the 2-hour show, there'll be more time with less commercials. I don't think it's going to go completely commercial free, but let's hope that they figure it out. It just sucks because like they just figured out how to do 3-hour Raws, and now we're going back to 2 hours, and it's just going to take even longer to pay off certain storylines, and it sucks. And we're going to see a lot less of certain wrestlers that we might want to see more of, like Wide Six, Chad Gable and stuff.
Yep, 100%. I'm gonna go on a little tangent about that because obviously I work in TV. But before I do, I'm gonna forget. My first impression when I saw that new SmackDown logo, I don't know if you did too. I read Smack Sound, and I was like, oh, wait a second. Like, I see the D's a little different color. And then I was reading the replies, and a lot of people were like, Smack Sound, Smack Sound. So I'm like, people are always hating on it already. But I do see, primarily, from what I've seen so far, positive reviews. And then I saw a little graphic where it was like Cody Rhodes front and center, like with the logo. And people were like, oh, now that I see it with like a superstar or something, this shit's fire. So, yeah, I mean, I do like the little rebrands. I do think WWE is kind of fully embracing that they're going into a new era with Netflix soon. Just going into the holiday season, when department stores start selling Halloween merch and Christmas merch, we're going into the holiday season. So we are going into the holiday season. And WWE is just kind of embracing it with some change. A lot of change on SmackDown and a lot of change on Raw. Which, this is where I want to follow up with my, I guess, quick little tangent about Raw dropping to 2 hours. Dropping an hour is big. Like, I work in TV, and like, bro, every single 30-second increment, when you have 30 seconds to work on a graphic, to edit something, that's life-changing in TV. So I know these producers in WWE, these directors, like, even the talent themselves, they're like, definitely thinking about it, whether they think it's a positive or a negative. That's life-changing for WWE. Even if it is only until January, it's going to be a big adjustment. Like you said, they have finally just only gotten used to 3 hours, and where you already see SmackDown struggle to give some stars kind of the time of day, especially Austin Theory being a big one, as you name dropped Carmelo Hayes, Andrade, list goes on and on. There's just so much. Even though SmackDown is 2 hours, it's not 2 consecutive hours that they're on air. You got 25-ish minutes of commercials probably, if not a little, give or take. Like, you end up only having maybe an hour and a half-ish of SmackDown airtime. You figure one match could go for 20 minutes. Like, it eats up quick. So now to have this bloated Raw roster lose an hour of that TV time is going to be interesting to see. I do think, unfortunately, some stars are going to just take some hits creatively, some hits momentum-wise, just because there's not going to be enough. Like, some people are going to be delegated to going to NXT, delegated to Speed, delegated to live events, main event, like, you name it. But where Raw decreases, I don't know if you saw this announcement. I actually didn't mention it in the pre-podcast preparation. I did see WWE's bringing back Saturday Night Main Event, which is quite exciting. That is cool, yeah. Yep. So, for the time that they lose on Raw, I don't know when Saturday Night Main Event is supposed to debut, but that will once again give WWE presumably Raw and SmackDown Superstars. That seems more of like a general show is my guess.
Yeah.
But that will be even more TV time. So, yeah, it's just, you know, a lot's happening at once between going to Netflix, Saturday Night Main Event returning, which, like, bro, I watched that shit as a kid. Like, we're talking like 2005, John Cena fighting in Saturday Night Main Event. I'm begging my mama, please let me stay up. She's like, it's not even on until like 11 o'clock at night. What do you mean? I'm like, please, I need to see the John Cena match. Like, Saturday Night Main Event is OG, bro. Like, real ones know. So that's cool that it will be coming back. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I even just talking about all that, I just feel overwhelmed. I'm like, wow, like that's a lot of change at once, a lot of moving parts, and a lot of restrictions. Like what we've gotten used to, I feel like WWE's been very, not stagnant, I don't know if that's the word, but very stable in terms of like, you know, 3 hours on Monday, NXT, Friday Night SmackDown, and then, you know, your PLE will typically be on a Saturday night, Sunday morning, whatever it is. Like, it feels like a little bit of the formula is being adjusted. New graphics, new TV, new logos, new run times. Like, it's gonna be quite the adjustment. But overall, would you feel like it's more of a positive change or a negative change?
Hard to tell right now. I have all my hopes with WWE. I mean, they have not really made me think that they would, you know, negatively affect their marketing. I mean, they're growing at an alarming rate. I don't think they would do anything that would hurt them. I think that I trust that they will figure it out. And I honestly forgot about Saturday night live. So that's honestly a really good point. If they make that canon and it's not just a bunch of dark matches being like broadcasted, yeah, I mean, that literally could solve the issue of 2-hour shows. And it's just more wrestling. You know, we lose an hour, but if we get a whole new show out of it. So like, sure, like I'll take that. But yeah, I think it's going to be positive. I think it's going to be positive. It's going to be an adjustment. And then once Netflix hit, we're going to see the real like changes and like the real, like, it's going to be positive. I think Netflix is going to be nothing but good things for WWE.
Hell yeah, man. I also, you know, give WWE my trust. And I do think this is a good point for me to steal the floor for a second and talk about AEW, where some people might lose trust, gain trust, or whatnot. But quick summary for AEW. And, you know, we can also definitely talk about other wrestling promotions going on, because there's a lot of moving pieces, it seems. It seems like we have some wrestlers coming over to WWE. We just saw Julia very recently in NXT. Rumors of the Lucha Bros, who would be coming over from AEW. Rumors of the Motor City Machine Guns, who would be coming over from TNA. This is all to WWE's side. But then AEW very recently just got Ricochet, which I know right when it happened, you sent me a text like, I wish the best for him. I wish the best. We have a lot of free agents circulating around. I know Bobby Lashley's name has been thrown out quite a lot. And just recently, he made a post saying like, I don't remember the cheesy ass caption, but it was something along the lines of like him posing in iconic WWE moments of his career, and he's like, you know, it's not over, like I'm coming back or whatever. People do seem to believe the hype of Hurt Business in AEW. We'll see if that happens. But yeah, in recent history, AEW I think is picking up back up steam. They just had All In followed by All Out. Danielson became the champ. Swerve and Hangman has been an incredible feud, and Ricochet is very interesting because they're really trying to push him as like a main event guy, which is something that WWE never did. For sure, WWE had him like main eventing like the live shows, if anything. And yeah, he's going into a feud with Will Ospreay. So AEW right now, I do think is doing, you know, pretty good. I'm interested. I'm not as interested as I am with WWE, because WWE still easily feels like the juggernaut right now in the wrestling industry. Everyone wants to go there. When a tag team of caliber like the Lucha Bros, like, nah, you know, AEW gives us constant title shots, constant weekly TV programming. We're gonna pack up shop and go to WWE. I feel like that just shows you how attractive WWE is now. They're bringing all the New Japan wrestlers, as Julia has just come over. Joe Hendry with the TNA collaboration. Jordan Grace again just recently was on NXT. I think the industry is booming, as the Hurt Business love to say, booming. Yeah, AEW in general, again, that's my quick summary, because I know Rivera and not all WWE fans watch AEW, but that's your quick little, from a wrestling fan who watches not just WWE, that's your quick little update. But I do want it to say, now that you know that Ricochet is in AEW, now that you know the Lucha Bros might head over to WWE, is there one pick? I always think this is a fun one. You can just throw in a pick. Is there one pick that you think you definitely see headed AEW's way? And is there one pick that you do think is headed WWE's way?
Oh,
you might have to think about that.
And
they could be on the active roster. Like, you could maybe be like, you know what? Like, fuck, Bronson Reed, he's going to leave in like a year and head over to AEW. Like, that is also open. You can pick an active wrestler.
AEW side, I'm actually very excited for the rumors of Ricky Stark coming to WWE, and I'm sure they're gonna put him in NXT, but honestly, I think you could just slot him right into the main roster and let him figure it out. I don't know, maybe let him get him in a feud with like LA Knight. They're like very similar personalities.
Money.
They have the Rock persona, the Stone Cold persona. Like, let them just like. They can make things work. For a first feud, that'd be fantastic. For WWE side, yeah, man, I don't. I could say the obvious pick of Bobby Lashley. I do think that maybe Hurt Business might be better off going to TNA. It'd be my guess. But I just feel like there's just so many. The thing about AEW, and I don't mean to like. I'm not trying to like say WWE better. I'm just saying, from what I see on the outside, is that AEW has a lot of staples, and they don't need that. There's like so many big groups in AEW. I think Hurt Business would just kind of get lost in there.
Yeah.
I obviously know a little less about TNA, but I don't know many big groups in TNA, and that Hurt Business could really just slot in nicely there. I can't think of anybody from like actively in WWE. I feel like everyone, at least I feel like WWE is trying to get everybody on TV as much as they can. Yeah. I'm sure there's like superstars that are like getting zero screen time that want to go to AEW or whatever, but like they don't come to mind. But I think for AEW to WWE, I'm very excited to see what Ricky Starks does. It seems like he's just honestly the next move. It's the obvious pick there.
Yeah, 100%. I do think you made a good point about WWE. I do think everyone is getting very good screen time, and WWE is doing a good job of showing you that, like, even if you have to pay your dues for a little, you take some losses and whatnot, they can fix you like that. Bronson Reed is the perfect example of like being this boring ass big guy that was just taking some L's and nobody really cared. He got fired at one point, came back, still you didn't really care too much about him, and then randomly they were like, let's just build him up to be an unstoppable monster that just tsunamis everybody. He was the one to injure Seth Rollins and write him off. He was the one to leap on a Braun Strowman and explode this car. Like, they're building this guy crazy. They're giving him the Braun Strowman treatment of a few years back when Braun Strowman was getting that unstoppable monster treatment. So yeah, I do think, again, that's why so many people are appealed to come over to WWE, just because even with all the discussion we had about the Raw 1 hour cut and whatnot, WWE seems to do a good job of trying to spread the waters. AEW sometimes can be plagued with, like, they have a 2 hour Dynamite, 45 minutes is going to MJF, and then like after that it's like everyone else like, get a match in but be quick. So I feel like WWE definitely balances their shows better. Even if it's going to be this match you just don't care about, it's going to be like a Zoe Stark match, they gonna get her on the show, okay? Like WWE will do it. So with that being said, obviously I had already name dropped the Lucha Bros, and I read that interesting enough, like, if Ricky Starks is to go to WWE, which it does seem that way, he was there at WrestleMania 40 cheering on Cody Rhodes, knowing how close he is to Cody Rhodes, knowing how seemingly frustrated he is with his booking in AEW. I do see him being the next player to go over to WWE. I do think he would start in NXT, as Ethan Page did, as Shawn Spears did, as Joe Hendry is doing. But one name that really comes to mind for me, if anyone is to leave AEW and go over to WWE, I feel like it's going to be another big guy. And I feel like two names that come to mind are Miro, or aka Rusev. He has not been doing shit with AEW. I would love to see him kind of pull back up. Or I feel like Keith Lee kind of like came over, he was tag teaming with Swerve, and then like he fizzled out. It's like, where is Keith Lee, bro? Like, maybe Keith Lee's like, fuck it, bro. Triple H is over there cooking. I still got my friends over there. I'm pretty sure his wife is still over there. So, why not? Like, let's go back to WWE. I feel like those would be my two kind of dark horse picks. We haven't heard much news about either guy. They kind of just been around. And I feel like with Andrade, that's a great example of, like, nobody necessarily... Okay, maybe that's not the best example because I feel like Andrade did kind of have a send-off in AEW. Like, people kind of knew he was leaving. But I do also feel like it was very sudden. We were like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, Andrade's in the Royal Rumble already? Like, wow, that came out of nowhere. So I think Andrade kind of let his contract, like, quietly expire. And, like, we didn't know how much time was passing and whatnot. And that's my guess. Like, maybe Ricky Starks, Miro, Keith Lee, all these guys that have just not been on AEW TV in months, if not even years, in Miro and Keith Lee's case. They might just be quietly letting their contract end and then sneak back over to the other side. Those are names that come to mind. And then for the opposite side, for WWE over to AEW, yeah, I do think Bobby Lashley is like the guy. I feel like, how can you not want Bobby Lashley, you know? Like, I feel like WWE definitely fumbled at WrestleMania 39 when they said Bobby come out with like the trophy and they're like, yeah, I'm Bobby Lashley. Like, that was just like disrespectful, bro. How do you not get Bobby Lashley on that card? Especially during COVID when like him and Roman Reigns were just like holding it down. Like, him, when I think of like COVID, I think of Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre, and Roman Reigns. I feel like those are like the champions around that time. Those are the guys just mega stars, like, holding it down. And then obviously Roman didn't fizzle out, but Bobby's momentum did, unfortunately. So I do want to just see maybe if he can kind of bring back that Hurt Business aura in AEW. But we know how it goes. A lot of guys go over there and then get lost in the sauce. So that's why I feel like right now a lot of eyes are on Ricochet to see how he does, how he fares in AEW. But I do think we're going to just constantly, you know, for the rest of time, like, ever since Cody was the first one to make the jump, you had Jade Cargill go over there, Shawn Spears, Ethan Page. The list goes on and is growing. I do think it's just going to be constant flip-flopping between the two. And now TNA is becoming a destination. The Hardys are over there. Joe Hendry is involved in both WWE and TNA. It's a lot. It's a lot of moving parts in the wrestling industry. New Japan has a lot of people signing with AEW. You had Okada go there, Will Ospreay. I guess you could say Mercedes Moné, who came from New Japan. And then, again, you have Julia, for example, going over to NXT. I've said that like 6 times, but it's true. It's still big news. There's still big news. Stephanie Vaquer coming over from the Mexican promotion. And I think one last guy I want to say, and I'll stop this rant. I was actually at my grandparents' house maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, and they actually had CMLL, like, just on like one of the TV channels. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to watch some luchador wrestling, baby. And do you know who I saw fighting in CMLL? Riddle. I was like, whoa, I haven't seen that man in forever. Maybe he's like, fuck it, bro. Maybe he'll go sign with AEW one day. Maybe he somehow can mend the bridge and head back to WWE. But that is a fall off, bro. That man was on top of the world in WWE. RK Bro was the hottest thing, selling so much merch. And like,
I liked Riddle a lot. I did like Riddle a lot.
What a fall from fame. I was sad. And like, not only was he in CMLL, but the one match I saw him fight, he lost. I was like, no. What a fall. Oh my God. What a fall, man. He still comes out bare feet, just wearing like the tighty whities. Like, he's still the same old Riddle. And he was taking an L in CMLL. So there's a lot of guys like that I feel like kind of get, you know, overlooked. Like, Riddle was still out there. You know, Elias kind of left WWE forever ago, and like, now I think he does more like TikTok preaching shit, but you never know. Like, that's another wrestler that like could one day just resurface. There's a lot of guys that had a lot of popularity, and then just kind of like you forgot about them, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like that's the case for Miro right now. Like, everyone loved Rusev Day in WWE. Like, when he was in AEW, he was a dominant TNT champion. Now he's just forgotten. Straight forgotten. So there's a lot of wrestlers out there, plenty of promotions to go to. I also don't know too much about TNA, but it does seem like they have been attracting as the Hardys have gone back. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Like, wrestling in general, even though it's about to be a slow patch specifically for WWE with PLE frequency, it still just feels like it's so newsworthy. There's still like a lot moving on and a lot going on. But to finish this cast, I think we should have the earliest preview of Bad Blood. Personally, what are you looking forward to most with Bad Blood?
Come on, bro. The Hell in the Cell match, man.
That was a layup, obviously.
We haven't had a Hell in a Cell since WrestleMania 39. I'm pretty sure.
Damn, you're right.
And it was kind of disappointing because it was like it should have been Finn Balor that won. Instead it was Edge, and it was it was with like I just feel like this is they've been building up this feud since Royal Rumble, so for almost a whole year. It needed to end in a Hell in a Cell, and obviously if you look at the history books, every Bad Blood has ever main evented with a Hell in a Cell. So I'm very excited. If there's one feud that deserved one, it's this one. However, I would have liked a female Hell in a Cell with Liv and Rhea, but I get why they didn't do that, because it's not going to end at Bad Blood. So that makes sense. I'll tell you what I'm not looking forward to. I'm not looking forward to Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens 2.0. Yeah. That seems like stupid. I don't really know.
Yeah. It does feel very filler. I don't really know. I mean, okay. Clearly the whole point, the catch there is a Kevin Owens heel turn, but it's like,
I hope.
We hope. Like, if he doesn't turn, he loses again. It's like, why? I love Cody Rhodes, clearly, okay? Give this man a sustainable feud. That's what he's been lacking. Mm-hmm. The only feud
give him Randy.
Yeah, for real. Well, okay, I think we're trying to save Randy for the bigger stage, but that's gonna be a big one, obviously.
Yeah.
But I feel like when you think of Cody, ever since winning at WrestleMania 40, the only feud you really can look at and be like, this had some sustenance, was AJ Styles. You had the fake out retirement. You had 2 banger matches in France, and then whatever the other one was, I can't remember. Was it Berlin? It might have been Berlin. No, Clash of the Castle, I think, right? Didn't they kick off Clash of the Castle?
Yeah,
I don't know. So. It was one of those. Maybe it was even Crown Jewel. I don't know. They had 2 matches. Those are the banger matches. I always think back to, France with the camera shaking, the energy for that match.
Yep.
But besides AJ Styles, Cody just hasn't had a really strong feud. Like, Solo and the Bloodline, it has dragged out. But that match was forgettable. You were only watching that main event because you wanted to see Roman Reigns come back.
Right.
The match with Kevin Owens, like, it sucks because I love Kevin Owens and I love Cody Rhodes. They're both up in my probably top 10 favorite current WWE superstars. But, I don't know. Like, it's still not cooking. It just feels like everyone knows that Cody's leading into something with The Rock or Roman Reigns again or Randy Orton. And if it's not one of those 3 guys, he's going to win. So I just feel like it's the lack of credible challengers, the lack of credible feuds, the lack of feeling like Cody's going to lose ever until one of those big matches with one of those 3 guys. I agree. I do think that is probably the least exciting match on Bad Blood, which is crazy that someone like me would say a Cody Rhodes match is going to be my least exciting pay-per-view or least exciting match on a pay-per-view. But yeah, I do think from the earliest signs, we will have a whole podcast for the pre-Bad Blood, obviously leading up to it. But for the earliest discussion is Drew McIntyre, CM Punk. That's what everyone wants to see. Hell in a Cell. We want to see these guys grating each other's skin on the cage. We want to see screaming. We want to see some viciousness. And yeah, I do think it could go either way. As you mentioned, Punk just got the win in the strap match. So will they let Drew lose 2 pay-per-views back to back? We'll see. Will Drew win? But then how do you argue that Punk deserves the title shot next? It's going to be interesting to see the dynamic in which result we get from that match. But I think we're going to end it there, guys. For episode 14, I know this episode was very all over the place, but that's kind of how wrestling feels right now. Very all over the place. Your eyes being pulled in so many different directions between Raw. Yep. Oh, look, a new SmackDown logo. Whoa, Will Ospreay in Britain, bro. Like, everything is just, like, so exciting with wrestling, but also very overwhelming. So I'm very interested to see if, you know, a lot of these storylines go the way we predicted. If some twists and turns happen, we'll see. And as you mentioned, Bad Blood is, I wanted to say coming soon, but it's actually still like 4 weeks out. So we get some time.
It's pretty far.
We got some storylines to build, guys. So enjoy watching your Raw. Enjoy watching your SmackDown. Instead of 5 hours a week, you now only get 4 hours of content to watch with the deduction in Raw temporarily. But Rivera, thank you for coming on, man. 4 episodes in now. How you feeling? Wrestling is good. You enjoying talking about wrestling on a podcast?
I always love talking about wrestling. It's like as soon as I find someone who watches wrestling, that's like all I talk about. It consumes 5 hours of my life, now 4. But you know, I love talking about it. There's always just so much to talk about with wrestling.
There's a lot to dissect, a lot of storylines, a lot of characters, a lot of emotions to unpack.
Yep.
Because that's what wrestling brings to you. With that being said, I will say this on podcast so we don't forget. We gotta look into that Raw. It's coming back to Boston real soon, man. I think December. So hey.
Yes.
Gotta keep an eye out. I see you rocking the Usos shirt. We already got our WWE merch. You already know we gotta get in that TD Garden and see Raw. But until then, until Raw, until Bad Blood 4 weeks from now, until some exciting WWE news, we will more than likely see you guys for a pre-Bad Blood podcast, which will be episode 15 of the Story Continues cast already. We are zooming through it. As this was episode 14, I just counted with Rivera. This is his 4th appearance on the podcast. So as always, thank you for coming on, sir. I love you, Rivera.
Of course, anytime.
I love you, Rivera. That was a Jacob Fatu reference as I ripped my earbuds out.
I love you, Matt. I love you.
Yeah. I'm the tribal chief, bitch. But with that being said, that's it. I hope you can continue your story. And until episode 15, enjoy Raw, enjoy SmackDown, enjoy AEW, TNA, NXT, New Japan, CMLL. Go watch Riddle lose again. Watch all the wrestling you want. Until then, peace out from Rivera and I. That concludes episode 14. That concludes this very overwhelming period of wrestling. So enjoy, soak it all in. Don't forget to take a deep breath. It's very overwhelming. But we're all in this together, man. Until the next one, peace out. Woohoo!
Ooh!
Oh
my God. He's fucking me!